I once thought my world had already collapsed until I met him. My brother, the one I believed had died in the war, suddenly appeared before me. He was no longer the gentle artist but a cold warrior. His eyes, devoid of their former warmth, were now filled with a coldness that made him a stranger to me. Chapter 12. A cold sweat overcame my skin, chilling me to the bone. His voice was the rope, and I was the bell being smashed. I only knew one person with that name, and that person was my brother, a man of grace, honor, and artistic soul. My love for 𝐿𝐸 it hurt to even think of him, how perfect he was and how imperfect the entire world around him lay. He was an angel in disguise, not Luca, whose protective nature now felt suffocating. The only thing keeping my traumatized mind alert, the only thing convincing me that this was not a dream but actual reality, was Luca's hand resting at the small of my back. The occasional swarm of warmth that would flit the bend of my back brought me comfort, very slight, unapaidable comfort, but at least I was dead. Right. Memories of 𝐊𝐸𝐬's kindness flooded my mind. How he would tell me our parents had a different kind of love, one I should avoid. I recalled him stealing a wheelchair from the local hospital to give me a midnight stroll during the lunar eclipse when I was too injured to walk. His graceful movements, his honorable actions, his romantic gestures all crashed into me like a glass of wine smashing onto the ground. It was hard to believe that all that emotion arose in just a second or two. Wonderful meeting you, Beta 𝐿𝐸𝐬. We hope you are comfortable during your stay at the castle. If you'll excuse me, I must discuss personal matters with the castle's guard. Luca pulled me away from the northerners. I bit the inside of my cheeks to stop myself from screaming like a banshee. How was he alive? Of all people in our pack, 𝐿𝐸𝐬 was the least trained, the most artistic, and a hopeless romantic. He was nothing like me. No, he was his own person. A person that should have been dead, not Beta of the North. As Luca pulled me away, my eyes never left 𝐿𝐸𝐬's and his never left mine. Green meeting green, to black holes finally forging into one. The strings of my heart pulled so tightly even breathing hurt the muscles in my chest too tight. It felt like a swarm of bees burst in the middle of my torso and left their poison to burn my vessels into ash. Luca, I whispered, my voice trembling with emotion. Where is the bathroom? I wanted no. I needed to let out the 𝐕𝐸 building up in my chest. Otherwise I would scream. Who was he? We stopped walking, and I realized we stood in a corner of the ballroom. The man you were talking to. I didn't have time for Luca's authoritative questioning. Traitorous stares already began rising from their cores. Luca, where is the bathroom? My body fell onto the wall, tired and overwhelmed. The room around me was spinning. I'm not taking you there unless you tell me who that man is, Luca. My voice rose, attracting the attention of 3 dwellers. Take me to the bathroom, now. His eyes widened, noticing the redness in my eyes, the grayness of my usual tan skin, and the desperation seeping out of my body. My wolf cried out to his, and it seemed he finally noticed that now. Now was not the time for his curiosity. Okay, he nodded, his protective instinct kicking in. Okay, I'll take you there. He grabbed my wrist and pulled me to wherever the bathroom was. My eyes caught Laura's body, watching as she purposely dropped her plate of food onto the ground to drive attention away from us. Her quick thinking and supportive nature shone through, even in this moment of crisis. Thank you. I wanted to tell her. Thank you so much. I'm sorry, Luca said firmly. I'm sorry about the way I acted. The ladies' bathroom is down that corridor to the right. He let go of my wrist and I ran down the corridor and into the bathroom, bursting through the door like a rhino hammering into its prey. Silence accompanied. Complete silence. It was suffocating me as I stared at the mirror in front of me, hands gripping at the sink. My lips trembled, my eyes burned, and tears finally erupted out of their sockets. I wailed. The sound was completely foreign and it scared me. Ever since arriving in this castle, I'd been bombarded by nightmares, drowning in emotions and pestered by desire. It was so much I hadn't been taught to handle. And now this. The brother I spent a year mourning for, more than I ever had for my mother or father, was alive, and he looked nothing like he had 6 years ago. Hundreds of questions rushed to the top of my brain. Was my niece alive? Did 𝐿𝐤 make it? Was that woman 𝐿𝐤? If it was, I couldn't tell. I forgot what she looked like for years ago. I forgot what anybody I'd known looked like for years ago. I sobbed into my hands, unable to get rid of the tightness in my chest. Why now? As quick as I'd met Luca, the man that made me feel things I didn't know were possible. He would leave. Once he knew how littered with secrets I was, once he knew how much of a nuisance I was. He would leave, and I wouldn't blame him. It's not like I would tell him 𝐿𝐤 was supposed to be dead anytime soon. It's not like I was going to spit out the fact that I was an orphan anytime soon. It's not like I was going to tell him every little secret I had built up inside me anytime soon. The scars I'd drawn onto my stomach 2 years ago burned with fury, and my skin itched for me to make more. But I resisted the urge. For Luca, I would resist the urge. He wouldn't want to see me like that. Suddenly, the bathroom door creaked open and there walked in Luca. He wore a wonderful navy blue suit I hadn't recognized, and a cape of the same color ran down his back. The crown on his head glittered as he walked up to me, distracting me off the emotional turmoil I was feeling for the slightest moment. 𝐿𝐤, he let out. Why? Just as I was about to usher him to leave, Luca wrapped his arms around my shoulders and pulled me into him, forcing me to breathe only his scent. Warmth charged all throughout my chest instantly, lessening the tightness in my heart, but not completely diminishing it. Without thought, I wrapped my arm around his waist and cried into his chest as silently as I could. The way he would squeeze me tighter every time I sniffed took my mind off of the situation. He rubbed my back, grazed his fingers across the back of my neck, and without quotes his hands through my hair, comforting me in the best way possible. I hate seeing you like this, 𝐿𝐤, he whispered to my head. It makes me feel unworthy of you. Unable to look at him, I spoke into his chest. How so? You've clearly been through so much, and I've lived sheltered and guarded my whole life. He held me tighter, so much that I couldn't breathe. The day I found out you were from the north, I dreaded the thought that my mother had anything to do with the passing of any of your family. He laid a kiss to the top of my head. It's been keeping me up at night. My arms instinctively wrapped around him tighter. I didn't want him to feel that way. I didn't want anyone to feel the same way I ever did, that they were to blame. So I decided I would reveal just one thing. He was my brother, I said. 𝐿𝐤 is my brother. Is that why you were crying? I shook my head. I'm crying because I thought he was dead. For 6 years, I thought he was dead. I unraveled my first secret. Shit, Luca breathed out, his hand sliding across my shoulder. Is he the only relative you thought you lost during the war? If it meant he would be able to sleep soundly, yes. He let out a relieved breath. Thank the goddess. Luca was sweet like honey. I know I said that before, but he was so sweet. He stayed up at night because he thought he was to blame for my family's death. And I didn't want him to do that, because he simply wasn't. His relief was my serenity. His calm brought me peace. Mother and father were now white lies, lies that would one day be uncovered. But I decided to let the future handle that. Because something told me Luca wouldn't be catching much sleep if he knew his mother was to blame for my own death. I have a speech to give in 2 minutes, he mumbled. If I had the chance, I would choose this over that speech. But it's a pretty important one, so we better get going. You leave without me. I need to fix my eyes. Do you promise to come out to witness my speech? I promise to come out in 2 minutes. Luca let go of me and smiled, shaking his head. Sometimes I think you're 𝐿𝐤 here. He cupped my face in his hands and laid a kiss to my forehead. It's very attractive. His kiss burned through me, made me wish it were my lips rather than my skull. I smacked him across the chest. Now is not the time, Luca. All right, Verdi, he said. If you say so. He turned around and left the bathroom, leaving me to gather my emotions and dripping mascara. It took me barely a minute to fix my eyes, and my tears left my cheeks a natural red tone. So I concluded it was time to leave. As soon as I exited the bathroom, solace slipped out of my body and the sound of classical music thrummed through my ears. It was still overwhelming, but much less overwhelming than it was a few minutes ago. Laura's eyes scanned the crowd of people until they landed on me, a look of relief sliding onto her face. She sent me a look asking, "Can I come?" And I nodded, watching silently as she jogged her way to my side with a worry staining the lines of her forehead. I didn't want her to worry about me, just the thought of anyone having to stress over me stressed me out. 𝐶𝐬 asked about you. Asked what your age, title, ethnicity and origins were. He also seemed very keen on asking me of your relationship with the Alpha, but I told him it was strictly professional. Laura shrugged. He didn't seem to believe a word of it though, and I don't blame him. 𝐿𝐲 your brother. And he is. I whispered into the air. The Luna, that wretched woman I burned to kill. Clicked her fork repeatedly onto her glass of wine, calling for attention of all ball attendees. The king of all wolves will now speak. Her ice blue eyes landed on Slayman's group of men. So silence yourselves. He bared his teeth at her, warning her. She shushed him with her fingers, sliding them across her lips threateningly. And so the king of all wolves spoke. We hope you all have enjoyed the annual castle ball. Please, help yourselves to as many meals as you would like. The trays fill themselves, so don't worry about filling up too much. The crowd murmured in laughter. We invite the leaders of the East, South, West and North to stay at the castle for the remainder of the week, discuss certain matters. The maids have already taken your bags to your designated rooms. You can leave the ball anytime you like to rest. We understand that your journeys have been long. Lucas stood in front of the throne, gesturing his hand to crowd. That is all for now. Everybody bowed down to Luca. Everybody except for 𝐶𝐬, who merely nodded his head and turned around to continue conversing with the males of his lands. 6 years ago he would have never done that. 6 years ago he would have never willingly put on armor. The sight hurt because I didn't recognize him. Not like I used to. 𝐊𝐢𝐧𝐑𝐿𝐢. Shifting my eyes from Lucas to his own. He was staring right back at me. Meet me at the roof by sunrise. He shut the connection after those words. And it hurt. Back then it was always me shutting him out. And as of that moment, I regretted every single time I did so. I didn't understand just how hollow the feeling was. How foggy it would turn your brain in mere seconds. Okay then, I whispered to myself, and attempted a distraction. Is anything of the matter? 𝐿𝐢 came from behind me, startling me. I can tell you've been crying. Would you like to talk about it? I shook my head eagerly. Everything's fine. 𝐿𝐢, I'll just need you to hand me the keys to the roof before midnight. I understand you have access to them all. Her eyes faltered for a moment before she smiled at me, nodding. Of course. They'll slide it under your door by midnight. Will you be in the room? I shook my head. I don't think so. She let out a breath. Okay. If you don't mind me asking, why will you be visiting the roof? I thought about it for a moment. 𝐿𝐢 was a 14-year-old maid. What's the worst she could do? They'll be visiting the Green-Eyed Northerner over there. I pointed to 𝐶𝐬, watching as her eyes glowed like marigold. She blushed, looking down. 𝐻𝐸s, a very attractive male. I'll admit. Is he the mate you've mentioned before? Goddess, no. Not at all. My cheeks reddened at her confusion. He already has a woman by his side. I'm there to discuss personal matters with him. We've had relations in the past. Oh, she nodded soundly. Okay. No worries. You'll have the key. Thank you. 𝐿𝐢. Really? I held a hand to my heart. Genuine. You don't understand how much this means to me. You look like you have a fever. Your face is all red. She placed her hand on my forehead. Its warmth flashing a wave of dizziness through me. You're all hot too. Don't worry about that. I just need the key by midnight. Is that all right? Her eyes flashed for a moment back to that marigold color. almost as if her wolf was trying to take control before she shook her head like a wet cat and huffed. "My wolf has been acting up lately. Sorry about that. Don't worry about it. I live to serve you." I winced at her last phrase but let it slide. She didn't even give me time to address her. I let out a deep breath, feeling much more stable than I did 10 minutes ago. If it weren't for that encounter with Luca, I'd probably have stayed in the bathroom bawling till I had no tears left to cry. My sudden changes in mood were greatly confusing, but I stayed grateful for them. Back in the outskirts, I was surrounded by silence and monsters. I had no one to pull me out of my feelings nor thoughts. I only had myself and my grief. It was lonely. Luca helped me feel the exact opposite of that in just seconds. Crying in his chest was more relieving than keeping silent alone, though that didn't mean I was about to utter my entire past to him in one night. It just meant I felt better. I think. Gosh darn it. Damn these feelings. It is time to dance. The Luna's voice echoed throughout the entire hall. But before we can start, the king must pick a female to share the floor with. The females that surrounded me gasped and buzzed, their eyes peeking over the crowd to find the king my male. A peculiar jealousy overtook my senses, twitching at my fingers and vocal cords. I suddenly felt violent again. Lucas stood by the throne, his eyes lurking over the mass of men and women with disinterest until they landed on me. A smirk painted itself onto his wondrous lips before he walked down his steps. A look of determination spread across his sculpted face. The crowd split at his presence in complete silence as they looked forward, trying their hardest to spot the lucky woman that caught the eye of the king, and I had a feeling a swarm of butterflies fluttering their wings in my stomach. That it was me. My lips parted once he stood in front of me, a hand held out for me to grab. "Can I have this dance, warrior?" My entire body melted at the gesture. I rose my hand, slid it into his extended one and nodded. "You may." A bright smile replaced the smugness on his face as he pulled me to him. A hand dashed without clothes into my own and another resting on my back. Our chests brushed against each other as we swayed, our eyes connected. Blue meeting green. Green meeting blue. It was electric. The air sizzled with passion, energy, and music so beautiful it felt like your eardrums were flying. I never wanted it to end, the synchronized movement of our bodies, the grazing of our chests and the warmth, the everlasting warmth surrounding the entirety of the room. 𝐿𝐸 my thoughts. The honey-eyed creature flew out of my brain. Luca replaced it all. He leaned forward, his lips brushing against my ear. "Did I mention that you look delightful?" I blushed, eyes lowering. "Stop it. You look ravishing. Stop it." Absolutely irresistible. I laughed against him and tightened my grip on his shoulder, afraid to lose the light he forced into my soul. He knew nothing about me, and I didn't know much about him either. But right then and there, I knew I needed him. I knew that without him I would remain mourning the death of my rising home. I knew that without him my future would remain filled with the monsters that existed only in my mind. I leaned my head against his chest and he laid his chin on the top of my own. We were both content. The midnight bell rang and there lay hundreds of lichens swaying across the ballroom floor, all oozing with tranquility. But from my line of vision, something shone. Just by the exit of the ballroom, an old lady wearing a lilac gown slid out of the doors, though it was her dress that caught my attention. It was her honey-colored eyes. Chapter 13. Will you be okay sleeping alone? Luca halted in his footsteps, forcing me to stop with him. He was currently walking me back to my room, somewhat concerned that I may have had a difficult time navigating my way through the castle, taking into considering what had just occurred. Little did he know that 𝐿𝐸 was now second on my list of concerns. That old lady was first on my list. Her and her damned eyes. Her lilac dress stayed ingrained in my mind that I was almost positive that I would dream about it. My brain had a knack for doing that. It's just that the entire ballroom was filled with young males and female, the oldest one being that wretched Luna. So what in the world was a woman that old doing in the annual castle ball? He snapped his fingers in my line of vision. Earth to Leela. Damn it. I should stop all this fretting. What was it you asked again? Will you be okay sleeping alone? I thought about for a second. If I were to sleep alone, I simply wouldn't sleep. I would remain eyes wide open until sunrise came about and it was time for me to visit 𝐊𝐲 at the roof. My mind would just continue thinking and thinking until my next mission was up. I don't know it. I let out a breath. Maybe. So that's a no. A maybe. A no. Got it. Why are you asking anyway? I huffed. Well, I want you to stay at my place. Just for one night. You'll take the sofa and you'll have my bed. Luca took my wrist in his hand before looking me in the eye. Please. I already had the answer. Okay, I'll stay with you. His eyes lit up. But I have to get something from my room first. Give me a second. Don't be long. I heard him say as I entered my room, grabbing the pajamas 𝐊𝐲 had laid out for me on the couch. She was a sweet girl, always making sure I was well. Once I had my toothbrush, nightwear, and soothing oils, I snatched the key to the roof off the ground and walked back out, ready to be surrounded by Lucas' addictive aura. He had this ability to make me feel warm and full in my chest. He made the Holland was not so hollow, and I hadn't felt that way in a long time. That reaction may or may not have been somewhat related to finding out that my kin was still alive. But still, Luca played a large role in the way I felt. Give me those. He carried my items for me with ease. What's the key for? I'm going to meet 𝐊𝐲 at the roof today. He linked me and said we should talk. Just the thought of us meeting was bringing me on the verge of cardiac arrest. I knew that his tone on me would be cold, that he would speak to me like I was not his sister. Something about him had changed. His once bright aura and paint-stained fingers were no longer present. Now he was covered in armor and had a stone for a face. I can feel your heart all the way from here. Verdi, calm down. He wrapped his boulder of an arm around my shoulder and pulled me to walk with him. Do you want me to be present for when the two of you meet? They'll wait in the staircase. Yes, please. There went my mouth blabbering again. What time? He asked as we neared the entrance of his hall. He didn't specify. I frowned. He said to meet him there by sunrise. That's code for 530. You know, when the sun rises. He heard me huff and cackled, head falling backwards. Put your things wherever you like. We arrived. His section of the castle was largely different than mine, and I don't think I took the time to appreciate the architecture of his mansion, like home the last time I was in here. His ceilings were higher than the tall trees that graced the untamed forest and were lined with massive chandeliers. It was furnished basically a kitchen on one side with great marble countertops and a living room on the other. Right before the bedroom was a dining room with a table longer than the kitchen countertops, about 16 chairs in total. Goddess, I wanted to live there. You can, Luca said, and one day, we'll have a home far away from the castle, wherever you like. I spun to face him, confused. Your link was on. Oh, my lips parted. Well, that definitely won't be a problem. It shouldn't be. Lucas' brows furrowed. Why would it be? He was offended. I could tell by the way his eyes shone. My brain is the only place where I can think freely. It's where I have privacy that is absolute. I confessed. It feels weird to have someone prying in there. He let out a deep breath and walked so he was standing in front of me, his strides powerful 𝐊𝐲. He ran a stressed hand through his hair. I will give you all the time you need. And believe me when I say this. I would never force you to be with me, talk with me, nor dance with me. But sometimes, it really feels like you dread every minute with me. My eyes widened, just as I was about to speak. His voice took over the conversation. Do you know how hard it was to resist you the minute your hands ran down my neck? Or how strongly I had to put my wolf in his place when we saw you in this dress? He had trouble putting his thoughts together. I am not prying in your brain. 𝐊𝐲, I would never do that. Don't take me as some ill-minded pervert. I stuttered. Shut. That's not what I meant. Luca, every minute I lay with you is a minute I have to resist you with every fiber in my body. He professed, out of breath. It's like you don't even have to try. I didn't know what to say. His confession had caught me so completely off guard I was left with my jaw slacked, staring at him like a doe in headlights. hands held to my chest. That feeling was back, the guilt swarming through my chest like white, hot fire. His eyes were angry, but his face was stoic, almost like he was hiding himself from me. It hurt me that he was hiding away from me. What hurt even more, though, was that I was doing the exact same thing to him. I was doing just that the minute I met him. Your bed is prepared. I'll just use the bathroom every now and then. He looked through my eyes one last time for any sign of emotion before sighing. Good night. He walked away from me to enter, most probably headed to brush his teeth. My chest caved at the sudden feeling of singularity surrounding me. I was such a piece of mold. He showed me his heart the second he saw me promise me things even my father couldn't, and stuck to his word. Luca never lied to me. His level of transparency was something I envied. Whereas I lied to him when I told him I was fine. I lied to him when I said only 𝐿𝐸 was caught in the war. I lied to him like it was the easiest thing in the world. Tears rushed to my eyes all of a sudden. Why in the hell was I crying? What in the cosmos was this? I looked up so my head was facing the ceiling, ushering my tears back to where they came from. This was supposed to be a happy night. One where I would remain awake talking to Luca of all the things 𝐿𝐸 had helped me with. Of all the ways we could hide his brute-like body so my brother wouldn't find him, even maybe talk about us. Something we rarely did because of me. Because of my need to hide. I couldn't lose him, and right now, with the expression he last left me with, it seemed I was going to. I didn't want him to stop being transparent with me. I didn't want him to ever lie to me. A shiver ran down my spine, guiding a wave cold onto my skin. The fear I felt right then and there was unimaginable, the fear of losing Luca. The mountain of secrets I had submerged deep within me rose from the bottom of my throat, eliminating any possibility of hastening back down. It was so overwhelming I felt like I was going to rupture into a million unfixable pieces. I burst through the door of his room just as it did the bathroom, eyes wide. Just the sight of him made my tears almost impossible to keep at bay. 𝐿𝐸 I hammered into him, wrapping my arms around his waist as if I was afraid he would disappear. My tears flew powerfully, like a wave crashing onto the shore. 𝐿𝐸, it was just 𝐿𝐸 I lost in the war. It was my parents too. I croaked, desperate for his forgiveness. My friend, my niece, my sister-in-law, even my favorite teachers and bullies. I let go of him slowly, aggressively wiping at my tears. I lost everyone. Luca. Picture this entire castle. Empty. No maids. No Luna. No seers underground. Every single person in the entire world that you knew. My father dug a secret exit behind my closet that led to the outskirts of the kingdom, and I was only 12. I kept running till I lost my way back. I was stuck there. I was out of breath. My heart hurting in my chest. For 6 years I was trapped in those forests. And I don't want to talk about what happened there. But it was a lot. It was too much. I lost too much of myself in there, and I don't want to lose you now. My fists clenched beside me as memories rushed to my mind. Lucas' muscles turned rigid. Ugh, goddess. I hate this. The tears wouldn't stop welling up in my eyes. But I hate mine too. And I'm sorry for lying to you before. The burden of mother's death lifted from my shoulders in the slightest of ways. I felt lighter, but also heavier at the abundance of monsters that had risen from the graves it built. It was complete emotional turmoil, a pain everywhere in my body. 𝐿𝐸, his voice made my breathing halt altogether. 𝐿𝐸, come here. I paused, staring at his extended arms as though they demorphed into snakes. Did he really still want me? I didn't want to think of the answer, so instead, I leaned into him, appreciating the way his arms wrapped around me. This may have been the last time I would see him. No alpha would want to be mated to an orphan, a woman with no ties to bring wealth and coin into the family name. Especially me, a stray wolf with the status of a commoner. Just the thought brought me anxiety that would make my muscles twitch and brain fuzz. Calm down. 𝐿𝐸. Luca rubbed my back soothingly and laid a long kiss to my head. I would never leave you because you're an orphan. 𝐿𝐸. Never in a million years would I leave you for such a thing. even if it meant I were to lose my status. But your mother would never accept such a thing. I mumbled into his chest. She wants you to wed a wealthy woman. To hell with her. He scoffed, tightening his grip on me. She doesn't love me. She loves that I'm an alpha. I was going to disagree with him on that. Laura was to Luna and her mother treated her like some scab on her skin. Luca cupped my face in his hands and stared down at me. His eyes were filled to the brim with emotions I couldn't read, nor understand. It moved something in me the way he looked at me, like I was the only thing in the universe. It was then that I understood why he so badly wanted to be inside my head, why he would get so happy when he got a whiff of my thoughts, because I wanted the exact same thing too. So badly did I want to ask him, why are you looking at me like that? What are you thinking right now? Are you happy? Are you disappointed? Am I still worthy of you? Your eyes, he whispered. I've never seen anything greener than them. His breath in my face, the smell of mint gracing my nostrils. It made me lean further into him without noticing. Your hair. He curled a loose strand of hair in his hand. They're waves of the finest silks. He ran his finger down my cheekbone, all the way to my jaw and stopped at my chin. He held my chin with his thumb and index finger so lightly, yet it felt like I was about to melt in his arms. Your lips. He took a deep breath. They were sculpted by the goddess herself. Leela. Warmth erupted throughout my entire body. It never felt like this. Such desire for a person. It's like you don't even have to try. He said. Oh, how wrong he was. I know Ivy said this before, but I'll say it again. His eyes glowed a bright amber, saturated with desire and dominance. If it were up to me, your neck would have my mark and your lips would have tasted mine by now. Your status doesn't mean shit. The muscles in my body clenched as a foreign emotion rushed through my veins. Without thinking, I clenched the fabric of his dress shirt and knowing of what I was feeling. Was this last? He looked down at the way I fisted his shirt and let out a short breath laced with a growl. Fuck it. He smashed his lips onto mine, turning my entire body to flames that could melt a bullet flying faster than light. I moaned into his mouth, evoking his grip on my neck to tighten as our lips moved in synchronization, a key sliding through a lock and twisting ever so perfectly. His lips were made for mine. His entire body was made for me. My dress felt too hot and his shirt suddenly bothered me. Without a second thought, my fingers began undoing the buttons lining his shirt with these I didn't know existed. Lucas smiled against my lips as I pulled his shirt out of his pants, giving life to 1,000 butterflies in my stomach. I was flying through a million clouds and I didn't want to stop. Lucas without clothes his hands through my hair and pulled downwards, giving himself full access to my neck and downwards. I gasped as he laid a wet kiss to the base of my throat and sucked the skin there, tickling the set ones laid ever so peacefully. My hands instinctively ran up his neck as he attacked my sweet spot, forcing a foreign wetness to acclaim in between my legs. One day, his tone was laced with a growl. Your neck will be marked with my initials. Not if I do it first. My own voice sounded different, so concentrated with desire and velvet. I pushed him onto the bed, a surge of dominance overtaking my senses, and straddled his hips. I felt his girth in between my legs, hard and strong, and shivered. As a virgin, I was terrified of it. You'll never get the chance. Just as he was about to pull me under him, I laid a sweet kiss to the base of his neck. His muscles melted. This power I had over him was addictive in every way possible. Euphoric, hypnotic, spellbinding. My lips ran up his throat until they landed on his sweet spot, an area of skin that made him groan in approval but also at the growing discomfort between his legs. He placed a hand on my exposed thigh, squeezing. Leela, stop. I didn't want to stop, but I did. His wish was my command. If you don't want me to take you right now, I suggest you get off me. The look of frustration on his face was severely entertaining, but I complied nonetheless. Goddess, you drive me insane. Woman, you really are nothing like the others. I cackled as I laid beside him, dress still on and heels strapped to my feet. I just want to know, with kisses like that, whose lips did you go around gracing with your own? Lucas' tone was light, but I could sense his jealousy from a mile away. I shrugged. I guess I'm just a natural. So there is someone else. Your jealousy drives you to stupidity, Luca. I sat up, facing him. I was 12 when I left my pack. Who could I have kissed? The 8-headed beast I slayed. His lips parted. Apologies. I forgot about that. My brows rose. Do you really not care that I hold no status? Or that my parents have no wealth? Or the fact that I'm littered with secrets? That means absolutely nothing to me. Your secrets are your secrets, unless you want to spill them to me, which I'll admit, I would love. I have no business praying around in them. I'll try too. I lowered my eyes. It's just that it's not fun. You know what else is not fun? This. He pointed to his erection and I swatted him across the chest. Ouch. That is highly inappropriate. Luca. And our 6-minute makeout session lost. He exclaimed, rubbing his peck. I need to take a cold shower. And when I come back, I am expecting you to be asleep on the bed where I will also rest. Yes, sir, sure. He gave me a look of warning and stood up. Before leaving, he leaned down and laid a chaste kiss to my lips. Go to sleep, Verdi. And I did. I fell asleep to the sound of him showering and the scent of him swarming. Chapter 14. I gasped. Eyes flying upon. It was another nightmare, the same one over again with that long-nailed, uney-eyed creature. Except this time she hadn't caught me by the ankle, she caught me by the nose, which confused me greatly. What the hell was my brain trying to tell me? Because I knew for a fact that dreams were able to signify whether or not my soul had been tainted by a witch or spirit. Sighing, I sat up on Luca's bed and stared at the window. It was only when I saw the sun peeking through the opening of the curtain that I jumped out of bed, still in my dress from last night. It stuck to me like second skin and made my waist ache. Sleeping in it for 4 hours was not one of my best choices. My eyes shifted to Luca's closet and immediately I rummaged through it, desperate to find a change of clothes so I could meet my brother at the roof before 530 struck. I had a feeling his new persona wouldn't appreciate my lack of punctuality. Finally, I settled for a pair of his boxers, my bra from last night and matching black sweatpants and shirt. It was that long-sleeve shirt he wore the day we visited the dying fields, and it smelled wonderful. More specifically, it smelled of him. When I turned around to leave Luca's room, I spotted a body that faced my back. I flinched, absolutely terrified at the fact that I had both shared a bed with him and changed in front of him. Did he see me, without clothes and changing into his cloth? I didn't think so because he was facing me. He laid on his side of the bed, shirtless, with the covers draped only to his abdomen. It gave me the chance to admire his sculpted pecs and defined features, but it also made me feel severely perverted because I remembered not wanting him to see me shirtless. Who was I kidding? He would have loved the fact that I was ogling him. I tiptoed to his bed and rose the covers so they covered the entirety of his body before leaving his area of the castle, my key in hand. As I ran to the roof in my flats, I passed by a clock that read 532 and strengthened my strides, eager to get over the anxiety that was me meeting my dead brother. Or so I thought. While running, I genuinely questioned whether or not this was all some sick dream my brain had fabricated to stop me from going through with my plans. Because that was a possibility. Half the time, when I was trapped in the outskirts, I couldn't tell whether the creatures that surrounded me were real or not. Some witches were even powerful enough to trick your brain into thinking a beast the size of a castle stood in front of you when really, it was a moth flying past. Finally, I reached the staircase that led to the roof and trudged through each step, painful adrenaline running through my veins. I was actually meeting 𝐶𝐸 again, and I was really scared. So much that when I reached the end of the staircase and found him waiting in front of the door, I genuinely considered running the other way. Maybe I still can, I thought. But just leave the key for him to 𝐊𝐢 the view from all the way up here and go back to Luca as if none of this had ever happened. But I didn't. Instead, I walked until I was 2 steps behind him, a heart bursting through my chest and muscles twitching. 𝐶𝐸, I whispered, chest caving. He turned around. eyes faltering for the smallest of seconds before that cold I saw back at the ball overcame. He coughed into his hand before pointing to the door. "I'm hoping you have a key." "Guard." My jaw clenched as I forced a nod. "Why do you want to go outside?" I walked so I was stood on the same step as him. "It's for the best." "Look at me." "Open the door." "Leela, for fuck's sake." "Slay man." "Look at me." His lowered eyes forced a cough from my side. "You're a beta, but you can't even look me in the eye." "Open the damn door before I break it, and blame you for doing so. That Luna won't bat an eye when she replaces you." I took great offense to his words, so much that I pulled the key out of my pocket and dangled it in front of him. "You want this." I threw it down the stairwell, ignoring the guttural growl that left his throat. "Get it yourself or break the door." "I dare you." He had the audacity to show up after 6 years with an attitude. I was going to stand for that. Did he even bother looking for me? Where was he when they attacked? Back at 𝐊𝐢𝐬𝐧? Or was he painting some vase of flowers? "You asked for it." Slay man lifted his leg and slammed it into the door, forcing it to explode open. "That piece of shit." He strode out of the staircase and onto the roof, and I followed him suit, anger bursting through my veins and betrayal pulling me down to violence. I grabbed him by the collar and pulled him to the ground, placing my knee on his chest to hold him down. He slid out from underneath me and pulled me up by my hair, evoking a grunt out me as he wrapped his arm around my neck, limiting my ability to breathe. "Why are you here?" I croaked, squirming. "I could ask you the same thing." "Guard." I slammed the back of my head into his face and he stumbled backwards. "Spit it out." "Slay man. You can't just come back into my life like a snake and keep your mouth shut." I sneered. "Now tell me why the hell you're here." "You know a 𝐊𝐢𝐬. When father told me to wolf from the north would erase this castle's name, I thought it would be that honorable beta. Thought you." My heart stopped. It physically stopped. I cowled and he writ nor feel it in my chest. I gulped. "Did you just say father?" "Yes, father. The alpha of the north and the warrior of the pack. HES taking your position while you're prancing in your gowns and balls. For fuck's Leela, did you even for a second think to come back and look for us? Did you come back to look for me?" I screamed so loud crows scurried from the edges of the roof. What the hell is that supposed to mean? I only got to this castle 8 days ago. The last 6 years were spent fighting the beasts outside of our kingdom and mourning for you. For Dad. For Mom and Talia. I pushed at his chest. "Furious? How could you even for a second think I would willingly leave you? I witnessed Mom die in right before my eyes. She was the one that told me to come to the castle when I was of age. She was the one that pushed me to the outskirts." My throat burned. My body was seething. And my heart. It was finally breathing. How do I know you're not lying? He had every right to ask that question. But at that moment, it just didn't sit right with me. Why would I lie? To protect your little alpha. I growled, warning him. "You will not touch a hair on his head. Slay man. Oh, would you look at that. Protecting your male. The man that sanctioned the order of the attack." He scoffed. "Pathetic. His father sanctioned the attack and his mother ordered it. My male had nothing to do with the attack, and if he did..." I paused for emphasis. Why would the goddess mate me to him? All female cannot survive without her male, and I would have to kill him if what you were saying is true. That would render the seer's prophecy false. But kept his mouth shut. "What happened to you?" I asked. Desperate. "Where's your art? Your paints? Why are you wearing the armor you swore you would never put on?" "I lost my child. That's what happened." I knew it. I fucking knew it. Maybe Slay man's presence gave me hope that my niece would still be alive. Maybe that's why it hurt so much to hear that they were dead. I approached Slay man slowly, watching as he sat himself onto the edge of the roof. He looked distressed with his hands clenched based facing the ground. 6 years ago he lost his first child. 6 years ago he was also dancing around in our home, shouting it's going to be a girl. I can feel it. 2 different realities set in stone so closely together. Two different laymen standing right before my eyes. Is �𝐻𝐲𝐬 still alive? His brows furrowed. Yes, didn't you recognize her yesterday? Sorry. I scratched the back of my head. I forgot what everybody looked like. You seem to remember me pretty well. Well, that's because you're 𝐿𝐢. I sat down next to him. I thought of you every day for a year until the monsters got so strong I could only think for myself. Same here. But I thought of my unborn child a bit more. I think I can forgive you for that. He huffed out a laugh and winced at the pain on his chest. Did you really have to knee me in this chest? Did you really have to punch me in the face? If it meant I got your bull of a knee off of my chest, then yay. I did. He shook his head, shocked. The outskirts turned you into a fighting machine. 𝐿𝐲, you're better than Ed ever was. I'm positive that if I lost your brother, you would have either killed me or knocked me out. Yeah. I pursed my lips, unwilling to think of the unnamed lands. And what of your male? My ears perked up. What of him? How old is he? What's his name? What's he like? 𝐻𝐸s wonderful. Sway man. Everything you ever wanted for me. I smiled to myself. I'll keep his name to myself. It's too beautiful to spell out. And his age. I thought about it for a second. How old was Luca? 2 years older than me. He looked to be that way. How the hell have I never asked him how old he was? I stammered, 22. Slayman scoffed. 𝐻𝐸s at least 30. 𝐿𝐲. I chopped on my own spit. What makes you say that? Did I look like him when I was 22? 𝐿𝐲. I get you. Alphas to grow faster than normal wolves. But not that much faster. Plus, his aura screams maturity. There's no way 𝐻𝐸s in his 20s. Slayman faced me. I'm going to need to meet him. Since Mother's dead, I will replace her approval of your male, and remember, you need 2 witnesses for your marriage to be approved by the moon. Marriage. 𝐊𝐲𝐬 and �ve know him 8 days. And his scent is all over you, so things seem to be moving pretty fast. He rolled his eyes. That bastard. �K�ELDon keep his hands off of you till you were wedded. We're not in the north. Brother. But you're still a northerner. And he always asked if I was willing to. I let the memory of yesterday's kiss slip through my mind. And don't worry. I'm not going any further until we're wedded. I've not completely forgotten my roots. Suddenly, and look of horror sliding across his face. What? The seer's prophecy stated that the beings of the north would infiltrate the castle. That's you and I. She also stated that another northerner's heart would stop beating. The woman didn't specify whether it would be you. The bait or I. Slayman hand down his face. It also stated that a witch would have been roaming the castle grounds well before we got here. 100 crops died a week ago. I think the witch has something to do with that. Then that must be one old, powerful witch. 100 crops is worth 10. 0 spells. She's probably 3 years old at minimum. I winced at the image of a 3-year-old witch. A pile of skin and bones littered with moles and bruises. Her body would be crooked as would her nose, and she would smell like burning candles with a hint of rot. She'd stick out like a sore thumb. He mumbled, "How have you not seen a 2-pound old woman roaming the grounds you're supposed to be protecting?" The honey-eyed woman popped into my head. I saw one yesterday night. She was old. Really old. Her eyes were the color of bright honey, and she wore a dress the color of lilac. There was only one girl wearing a dress the color of lilac last night, but I can't seem to remember her face. He took in a deep breath. She was young, very young, but that's all I remember. Not the color of her hair, nor the color of her eyes. I huffed. This was going to be more difficult than I thought. A witch's magic has no beginning nor end. We don't know exactly what they can or can't do, or if they can do just about anything. I said, "What are you suggesting?" "I'm suggesting," I swallowed, "that we go to the outskirts and kidnap a witch. You know, for research purposes. You're insane if you think I'm letting you go back in there." I wasn't asking. "Slayman." I stood up and dusted my pants. "Now if you'll excuse me, I have no missions today." I'll be taking this as my day off from any form of human interaction. 𝐊𝐢𝐳𝐬𝐩𝐿 and 𝐊𝐢𝐳𝐬𝐙𝐬, the undocumented changeling, and forced to pose at a low-level wait. I halted in my footsteps. If you were to go back to the outskirts, when would you do it? I thought about it for a second. The sooner the better. Right. Next week. Damn it. Leela. Okay. I'm coming with you. Just don't tell your mail. It's better we keep this between us. I nodded. I was planning on doing so anyway. I knocked onto Lucas' door and waited. If I told him about my plan, he would definitely object and might interfere with the seer's prophecy. And, as someone who has interacted with seers on a weekly basis, I knew that would only bring it closer to happening. It's not like I was excited to go back and kidnap the witch, but it was also the only way to understand what power their species truly wielded. Plus, we would be able to use her to our advantage, maybe ask her to cloak the entire castle with truth serum for the entire day. That would be fun. Suddenly, the door flew open, exposing Luca with a shirt halfway through his body. That's where that shirt went. He stared at the dust staining my pants. Oh goddess, you already met up with him, didn't you? I decided to change the subject. Don't you have 100 other shirts that look exactly like this one? I do. He walked out of the door and shut it behind him, but I wore this one the most, so it just feels less stiff than the one I'm wearing now. You can keep it though. It looks much better on you. Luca. I swatted him across the chest. Stop thinking with your pickle. He cackled, head falling backwards. How do you manage to make that sound attractive? Because in me, I said in an attempt to joke, something I didn't do often, but it seemed that Lucas' senses were extra heightened that day. You smell heavenly. He cupped my face in his hands. What did you do? Is it some sort of perfume? Did you bathe in lavenders? I furrowed my brows. I woke up in the dress I'd been wearing for 8 hours and went to see my brother. That's hard to believe. You even look different. Kung. See, he dragged me by the wrist to a random mirror lane in the hallway. You look amplified. My lashes seemed darker. My breasts seemed rounder. My bum even looked perkier. And my hair. I could have sworn and never seen it that dark and silky since I was 12. That was when the dots connected. Oh crap. What? Luca cowled and kept his hands off of me. Whether it was him twirling my hair or his entire arm wrapped around my waist. He just cowled, and I knew exactly why. My heat was arriving soon. In a few hours, to be precise. Chapter 15. I knocked rapidly onto Lara's door, heart beating at the pace of a jaguar speeding through grass because I was about to have my first heat. Goddess, I was not prepared. Not only that, but my mother, who promised me she would be there during my first heat, was not. Rather, she was somewhere in the stars watching over me, about to succumb to my body's punishment for not fertilizing its egg. The thought itself was daunting, but I was stepping another milestone without my mother there to say good job. I'm proud of you. A shiver overcame my body. I didn't want it to be today. Really? I would have done anything to stop it from occurring that day. But there was nothing I could do to stop it. To my surprise, Dale opened the door holding 3 dresses over her shoulder, and each different color. Yellow, coral, and lilac. The same lilac that was on the honey-eyed woman I saw last night. And my eyes went to it. Who wore that dress last night? I'm sure I seemed insane asking that question. Hair stuck to my head and eyes wide as my heat slowly rose. Dale stumbled backwards at the sight of me. Goddess, you scared me. She tilted her head. Your fever worse than it was last night. She placed a hand to my forehead. It's cold, dizzying me for a single second. You definitely have a fever. I think your heat may be on its way, and it was some maid. I forgot her name. I furrowed my brows. The woman was old. Right. Okay. I nodded. Where's Lara? She's out at the garden with the beta. But I was just about to inform you that she wanted you to meet her there. Dale readjusted the dresses on her shoulder. Will that be all? I must get these to the laundry. I winced. Guilty. Yes, sorry for taking your time. Dale bowed and scurried away, leaving me alone with my thoughts. I better get going, I thought to myself. Lar is the only person I'm comfortable going through my heat with. So I walked down several sets of stairs. Enjoying the windows I was able to look through every now and then. The snowflakes were stunning, honestly, and in a weird way they calmed the beating of my heart down and lessened the way my pores would ooze out sweat. It wasn't until I witnessed a delicate snowflake melt onto a window that I realized this was my first time in pure snow. My steps quickened at the thought of feeling it. It never snowed in the north, it was too hot up there. So I was excited in a way I'd never been before. Thoughts of my heat. Memories of the outskirts. The death of my mother. They all slipped away as I reached the greenhouse of the castle, a small cottage-like mansion made of glass and filled with flowers of all kinds that was attached to the edge of the castle. The sight made me sigh in content. It looked and smelled wonderful. I jogged towards the greenhouse and approached a boy the same age as me who was patting the soil in a pot. Comfort was saturated all throughout his body, slumped shoulders, a casual walk and a flailing fingers as he did so. He had honey brown hair and dark brown eyes, accompanied by a tall, yet lanky frame of body. The sight reminded me greatly of myself when I was younger after Father told me I was done training and it was time to shower. That's probably why I was only comfortable approaching him. Excuse me, do you happen to know where the exit to the garden is? I held a hand to my chest, awaiting his answer. His eyes widened before he bowed down to me, a nervousness overcoming his slacked posture. Royal Guard, Please don't bow down to me. It really does make me uncomfortable. A look of horror rushed through his eyes. Not that I don't appreciate it. It's just I'm your equal and not of alpha descent. It doesn't sit right with me. Apologies, I guess. We've all been trained to do so. So I must warn you that everybody else will do the same. Guard, I grimaced. Please, call me Leela. He was taken aback. If that is what you wish for, please, follow me to the exit. Leela, thank you. I sent him a smile and he lowered his eyes. Blushing. Did he just blush? That made me blush. We passed by several miniature trees and towering flowers that all smelt like fresh forest with a whiff of sea. It never felt so refreshed in my entire life, regardless of the fact that I hadn't taken a shower in almost 2 days, but thankfully, the flowers were there to cover for me. They had my back and hopefully, I would have theirs if they had any. If I may ask. I stared at the back of his head. How old are you? He turned to face me, a smile staining his fresh face. 19, turning 20 in just about a month. My jaw slacked. You're born in March too. Yes, the 29th to be precise. And you, if you don't mind me asking. The 31st, I said just as we exited the greenhouse. A gush of ice-cold wind slamming into. Are you planning a celebration? And if so, where? I'd love to help plan its flower arrangements. I smiled genuinely before shaking my head. I don't think so. My birthday isn't something I'd like to celebrate. I scratched the back of my head, mood suddenly rotating. He'll probably keep it small though, that doesn't mean I wouldn't want the flowers. I'll definitely contact you when the time comes. The name's Roman Salvador. I'm here most of the day. And when I'm not, I'm most probably at the library. He sent me a respectful nod, eyes shimmering. I will be awaiting your call on the 29th. And with that, he left, walk boyish and a hand running down his head of hair. I pursed my lips. If Luca wasn't my male, I would have fancied him so hard. The thought itself was embarrassing, but the bright red-haired woman I caught stomping her foot onto soil brought me back to my situation. What in the hell was Lara doing? Attacking the soil in hopes that it would bloom a flower out her violence. I trudged through the snow until I stood behind her and tapped her shoulder. She spun around, a look of anger clouding her expression, and spoke. Hamza, the seed won't grow. Oh, Leela? Sorry. She smiled sheepishly. I just wanted to grow a mango. But it's been 2 weeks and my seed is still nowhere near done. Maybe it's the weather. I suggested. Try planting it in the greenhouse. That's what Hamza said. But I don't want to prove him right. I snorted. Laura, it'll witch, Laura. That's the only way to grow the fruit. It'll throw some bone meal to it. Anything to prove that brewed wrong. Laura straightened her posture before looking me in the eye. Okay, let's get to business. Lucas' birthday it'll weekend since you're his mate. You must be present. My eyes widened. 𝐻ES also born in March. The 7th of March, yes. 𝐻ES going to have a huge party, that's why the people of the north, south, east and west are staying at the castle. But there's a catch. Her eyes shifted, making sure nobody was listening. His mother is planning on introducing him to the prince of the west. To wed them. I overheard her speaking to their alpha. My lips parted. But they're not mated. Kings and queens don't give to craps of bonds. What they do care about, though 𝐿𝐢𝐧𝐷, are alliances and coin. The West are known for their jewels and fancy accents. She rolled her eyes. Can you believe Hamza thought he would be mated to a Western woman? That man is tasteless. My shoulders slumped. They speak French, have eyes the color of the sea and skin pale as snow. Who wouldn't want them? Laura swatted my boob and I hissed. You speak Arabic. Have skin the color of the sun and eyes the color of nature. I'm pretty sure we know who wins here. Wouldn't wedding him to the east be more beneficial though? Their women are much richer and so beautiful. I gushed. They have skin the color of chocolate that doesn't age. I swear. Laura, when they visited us 7 years ago, I couldn't find one oddly faced lichen. That's what I thought too. But mother has an agenda of her own. Just never liked them, maybe she's jealous that their skin takes ages to wrinkle unlike hers. But we have to stop her. If she wants that wedding to happen, she'll make it happen. My heart fell out of my bum. How was I going to compete with a Western princess? Above that, how would I be able to focus on postponing the Luna's plans while trying to figure out the origins of the seer's prophecy and brother's resurrection? Shit's hished it. I promised Slame Anne that we would visit the outskirts next week when next week was Lucas' birthday. Never in a million years would I miss Lucas' birthday. Even if it meant my prophecy or even my death would come back stronger. He was slipping through my grasp, and if I didn't start moving, he would completely dissipate from my life. Something I feared it a bit too much. I'm designing a dress for you, and it's going to be stunning. Leela. Even more dazzling than the Luna's gown. Wouldn't that be rude? Though, to outdress the Luna, Laura shrugged, lips pursed. You're a royal guard. Your job is to make people fear you, not look over you. And, technically speaking, you're the Luna, not that old brat. So wipe that frown off of your self-face and move that bum of yours so I can get your measurements right. All the secrets Laura spilled made me forget exactly why I was there in the first place. So when I saw Lucas stomping his way our direction, eyes wild and shirt clinging to his massive build, I gasped as though it just seen the Luna fall down 7 steps of stairs. What? Laura? My heat is approaching. My voice turned desperate as I tried to hide her tall frame. And so is my male. She turned around and her jaw slacked. What did you do to him? I told him I didn't want to see him for the rest of the day. He seemed fine with it. Though, if he seemed fine with it, why is he bulldozing his way over here? I held both her wrists in my hands and begged her. Laura, I don't know what to do with my heat. It's my first one and you're the only person I trust can see me this vulnerable. Okay, Penelope. Prepare a warm bath in my chambers and ban the beta from stepping foot into his well. My home. Laura spoke to a middle-aged woman that nodded eagerly at her. Yes, ma. Penelope turned to face me and bowed. Royal guard. I didn't know what to do and almost bowed back. But Laura held a hand to my chest to stop me. Thank you. Laura smiled sweetly at her and the woman scurried away. Just as I was about to speak, I felt a hot, roaring presence seep into the pores of my back. A shiver ran down my spine as I tried to imagine just how angry Luca would look up close, and my brain completely rejected the idea of his fur iOSness. My wolf and I just couldn't fathom Luca. Someone who had been treating us like a glass of wine for the past week, looking so livid. Laura, Would you spare me a few minutes alone with my female? His voice came from right behind me, forcing my chest to cave. Why in the world was he so angry? Laura held her hands up in surrender. I'm giving you 5 minutes at most. Leave. Laura, no. Every breath he let out was laced with a guttural growl. Before Laura walked away, she glanced down at the spot of dirt that held her mango seed underneath it with a look of determination on her face. Suddenly, I wanted to be that mango. Leela. His breath kissed my neck. Turn around, slowly but surely. I spun around to face him. Fists balled to my collarbone. Luca. His eyes glowed at the mention of his name. Is anything of the matter? I asked. Chest caved. You told me you didn't want to see me today, and I respected that wish. But to see you avoid me only to prance around with some twig of a boy all smileys. Leela. His jaw ticked. That's a whole other story. I was taken aback. Were you following me? Don't change the subject. He growled, voice rising. Don't use that tone on me. For fuck's sake, Luca. Why in the world were you following me? You smelled different. And what? I took a step back, overwhelmed with bright anger. Luca, I don't even have time for that. Neither do I. And that is exactly why he will no longer be working at the greenhouse. He scoffed. I paused. What did you say? I'm saying I rid that boy off his job. If I learned one thing during my time at the outskirts, it was how to anger beasts, how to use their own emotions against them, and judging by the way Luca was looking at me, he was definitely a beast. He has a name. You know. Let it be known that I knew the name of the twig boy Luca oh so hated. He stretched his neck, an attempt at controlling the beast that resided within him. Give Roman back his job. Alpha. Or so help me goddess, I will tear this entire castle inside out. He roared, claws snapping out at his fingers. You will break down an entire castle for a random boy, but you will not speak to me about your past for more than 10 minutes. I stared him down, without hesitation. Leela, I'm warning you. And I'm warning you, Luca. The next time you invade my privacy like this only to accuse me of cheating on you, you won't have to fire me from my position. My eyes shone a bright green. I'll leave it myself. I turned around and began walking in Laura's direction, ready to leave, only to have Luca grab me by the wrist and pull me to him so strongly I felt the muscles in my wrist tear. I cried out in pain as I slammed into him, the breath being knocked out of me. We were fine this morning. Why this all of a sudden, huh? His claws dug into my arm. Why do I find out your lips are mouthing another man's name? The pain in my wrist was dizzying. Luca, let go of her. I heard Laura from behind me, but I was sure. The ringing in my ears was overpowering all of my senses. Of all people, Luca was acting this way to me off of a misunderstanding. How would he react to everything else? Leave? Laura, the alpha growled. His eyes turned a bright amber, indicating his wolf had taken over. This is my second time telling you. Luca, I whispered, eyes fluttering. Let go of me. He didn't hear me, and I couldn't bear it. I couldn't bear the way his claws kept digging into my wrist, or the way he had changed so suddenly because of his jealousy. His damned jealousy. Of all things, I thought our first fight would be because someone had died, or maybe just maybe someone had actually slept with a stranger. Not this. A pain erupted from my lower belly, and I fell to the ground, on my knees with my wrist still chained to Luca's hand. My heat had begun. Leela. Luca's eyes changed from their unnatural amber to their original ice blue. Another invisible blow came, this time right above my left ovary, as though it were a wet towel being squeezed of its liquid. This pain was different, though. It was so extreme, so inexplicable that I couldn't even scream. Rather, all I did was fall limp in Luca's hand, unable to move. Laura, the witch Laura, what's happening to her? I looked up lazily to find Luca starting down at my wrist in horror at the fact that he had punctured for gushing wounds into my skin with his nails. Fuck. What did he do? Chef's going through her first heat. Luca. And your ass of a wolf almost beat her. Laura went to push him away, but Luca growled at her. I'm supposed to be the one helping her. A powerful pain struck the space in between my legs and I screamed in pain, unable to voice out my opinion. Goddess. Everywhere hurt so badly I couldn't even protest against the pain in my head. All I could think was how much I wanted it to stop. Layla, I'm so sorry. He placed a hand under my neck and one under my knee and pulled me up to his chest. Fuck Laura. Prepare a bath. Go to my chambers. There's one prepared there. Without a second thought he ran with blinding speed, me held tightly against his chest. I squirmed in his grip as another hit came to my upper thighs, evoking a cry of pain to deep through my lips. Layla, I'm so sorry. It felt like I was about to faint. Goddess, what have I done? My eyes opened to find stone ceilings above me, indicating that we had reached the castle. As much as I hated Luca at that moment, I was grateful for his strength and status. I was grateful for his touch because it eased my pain. I was grateful for his apologies but I certainly was going to forgive him because of them. Not when he accused me of such a grave sin out of his own insecurity. Not when he had dug his claws into my skin like I was some sort of enemy. We're almost there. I promise you. Verdi. His grip on me tightened even further and I was glad for it. Several more blows struck my lower abdomen before we reached Laura's area of the castle, where Luca kicked the door open without hesitation. He sprinted to the bathroom of her home and opened the door gently and locked it behind him. We're here. Luca breathed out. Put me in the water. Luca, please. I croaked, fisting his shirt. He did as I asked and put me in the water. But the minute he let go of me, my body screamed in pain. Ugh. I curled into a ball, unable to withstand the pain. What can I do? Tell me. I'll do anything. Panic was thick in his tone. I ignored him and removed my shirt, the shirt he'd stolen from his closet this morning, and threw it onto the ground. With a flushed face he turned around, giving me the privacy I accused him of depriving me of just 10 minutes ago. I did this same with my pants, to discarded them like a crumpled piece of paper being thrown into the trash. The pain didn't lessen though. In fact, with my skin exposed to the water, it felt like a toaster had been thrown into the bathtub, electrocuting my every tendon and muscle. I hold in my cries. Really, I couldn't. No matter how hard I tried to, each blow surprised me by being more painful. It got to the point where I couldn't bear it anymore, where I wanted to be knocked out of consciousness. Layla, please, let me hold you. His voice shook as his back faced me. Please. Silently, I shook my head. How was I sure he wouldn't attack me like he did back there? A blow struck my right ovary this time and I gasped in pain, body curling furthermore. I had to shut my eyes. Maybe if I pretended this was a dream, the pain would alleviate. Not even 5 seconds had passed before that theory was proved so miserably wrong. Gosh. I just wanted it to end. It wasn't until I felt the water ripple in front of me that a warmth filled my chest. It wasn't until I felt the presence of another being in the bathtub that the prickling sensation of my body lessened. It wasn't until I heard his voice, the voice of my male, that my eyes opened slowly, only to find Luca. He wore nothing but his slacks as he sat in the middle of the large tub. Section. His eyes were shut closed. I won't touch you without your permission. But you can do whatever you want to my body. Rest within my arms. Hold me. Carve scars into my skin, whatever you like. Verdi, I won't look at you until you let me. I won't do anything until you say so. I stared at him, at how vulnerable he seemed in all his strength and build. The sight made my eyes water. It made me want to swim my way into his hold and rest there for an eternity. It made me want to slather kisses all over his chest for daring to stand lower than me. It made me want to be his. I'm here. Layla, he spoke with a tight chest. Please. I couldn't hold it in any longer. Whether it was the pain or my complete and utter desire to scream how much I appreciated him for being so understanding, I didn't know. But what I did know was that I wanted to be surrounded by him and his everlasting warmth. I crawled my way to Luca until I laid less than an inch away from him in nothing but my undergarments. He promised he would lend hope in his eyes, and I trusted him on that. Without question, I wrapped my arms around his waist and dug my head into his chest. His body tensed underneath my touch before slumping in relief and emotion he surely didn't deserve at the time, but one that made me more than happy. In his arms I felt like gold. Shimmering. Singular. Absolute. Never in a million years did I ever think it'd feel that way again. Absolute. Like I belonged. Can I wrap my arms around you? He asked for my permission, yet all I did was nod into his chest, desperate for more of his touch. He complied, slowly lifting each arm to wrap around me. The delicacy he treated me with almost made me forget the fact that I had 4 wounds healing and a fractured wrist, both things he had caused. It was turning purple as the seconds passed, but Luca 𝐊𝐢𝐬. He 𝐊𝐢𝐬 because he promised me he wouldn't. Out of nowhere he tightened his grip on me. I'm sorry, Leela. I really am. It's okay, my wolf thought. I know, I said instead, tracing circles onto his pec. I know you are, I know you are. It was the bond working its way through my brain, an attempt at binding our souls furthermore. I wanted so badly to accept his apology, but deep on the inside, I wanted him to regret what he had done so strongly that the next time he thought to quarrel with me, he just wouldn't. I'm going to kiss your head, he mumbled, eyes still closed, okay? With his eyes shut, he accidentally kissed the tip of my nose instead, but I didn't mind. I was too content with the way I was feeling, surrounded by water and the protective presence of my male, and so we stayed that way for what felt like hours. His eyes closed and my arms without closed around his.